Hi there, everyone. It is currently the 6th of September 2014. Meteorologist Robert Spetta here with you today. And actually, for the first time in a long time, the tropics are firing up, but they're firing up in their own way. And what I mean by that is that we have several brush fires out here, but no real sustained forest fires burning just yet. And that metaphor really can translate into this because we have a minor tropical depression just towards the east of Okinawa, and that's going to bring some scattered showers, the threat of some thunderstorms out here, and eventually this could head off there towards mainland Japan, bringing some pretty nasty weather. Also, we have another tropical depression which is expected to become a tropical storm in the next 24 hours via the Japan Meteorology Agency. A third minor tropical depression which, for all intents and purposes, that one's heading out here towards the east, not going to be a major player in anything, and really at this time that's really a weak storm system. Then we have another couple tropical waves which are firing up farther down towards the south. These are invest areas via the NRL, the U.S. military, and they're keeping a close eye on it. Actually, JMA has this one marked as a low pressure area at this time. Let's take a look at the latest map, and now that I've gone through all these on satellite imagery. And we can see here we have several tropical depressions, one just towards the east of Okinawa, as I mentioned, this one heading out to sea, and also this one. Now, this is no longer a minor TD, but it is expected to become a tropical storm via the Japan Meteorology Agency. I'll talk more on that in a second, but first, let's talk about this one heading off across the southern Japanese islands and bringing this, this already threat of rough weather for those of you in Okinawa. If you have any plans this weekend, I'm sure you probably have already canceled. I mean, the radar has looked like this all morning, these thunderstorms which have been passing by, and that's really going to continue through the rest of Saturday, especially into the late evening hours, and by Sunday early morning hours when the wind starts shifting from the west and some dry air starts wrapping around. But for now, at least, here's your low-level center. It's farther down here towards the south. That's going to continue to track off here towards the north and eventually the north-northeast, and those outer rain bands around the northern periphery of this tropical depression are just going to continue to bring those showers. Now, this is starting to slowly organize, and I do want to mention that we are seeing that convection off towards the north, convection down towards the south, but around the center of circulation, it still remains pretty disorganized, actually somewhat exposed, but that is going to change as we look ahead throughout the next 24 to 48 hours, and I think that's going to be the big thing out of this. This is going to start to encounter the westerlies, so it's going to lose some of its tropical characteristics as we look ahead. And what I mean by that, it's going to get wrapped up with a jet stream. You also have this frontal area right here, so it's going to kind of tag along with that front, and that's what's going to pull it towards the northeast. So as far as a direct landfall on mainland Japan, I don't think that's going to be happening with this storm system, even as it intensifies. But instead, it will move over the southern Japanese islands here on Saturday, and as we head through, well, basically into Sunday morning, you see these showers indicated in the blue and those southerly winds. The other key thing you actually do want to mention that it is a spring tide out here in the southern Japanese islands, so what we have is already a high tide in place. We're going to be seeing these strong southerly winds throughout the day on Saturday, so the threat of coastal flooding for those of you in Okinawa, actually pretty high out here, despite it being a pretty weak storm system. I mean, we're only looking at about 30 to 40 kilometer per hour winds. Winds have actually been reported gusting up to about 60 kilometers per hour. Sustained winds will be much less. You are still looking at that threat of coastal flooding due to the high tide. Now, as this does track off towards the northeast, I mentioned it's going to get wrapped up with that upper level jet, and what's going to happen is that it's going to feed in some moisture into this. So we're going to see this pull towards the northeast, and possibility of this intensifying by Sunday night into Monday. You can see the bulk of the moisture remaining here on the eastern periphery of it, drier, wrapping around towards the west, so somewhat of a cold front really setting up here and a warm front right in here. That's what I mean by it's losing its tropical characteristics, but still some gusty weather for those of you across the Izu Islands and even into coastal areas. We're talking about Chiba over towards Yokosuka. Actually, Yokosuka, you could be seeing some gale force winds as this passes by Monday night into Tuesday. It's going to be very breezy out there and that threat of some rain showers and thunderstorms. But the good news, it looks like at least at this time it's going to stay well offshore just because of that front pulling it. This is the ECMWF model just for comparison purposes. Let's show you what the nav gem is showing, and actually keeps it much weaker. That front still pulls it towards the northeast, but it really keeps that storm system just falling apart. Shifted up with the GFS model. That's this one right here, the American Numerical Model Guidance. It also keeps it offshore, but a little bit closer, so some pretty rough weather for those of you in immediate coastal areas. And you can see right here, keeping it as a fairly strong storm system, though, impacting those of you in the Izu Islands. So for now, though, scattered showers in short, just offshore into Okinawa and the southern Japanese islands. Coastal flooding along the eastern seaboards as possible. Also looking at some heavy rain across much of western Japan, and eventually by Monday night into Tuesday, could see some gale force winds for immediate coastal areas, but this is not going to have a direct landfalling impact before it starts to head off towards the northeast and heading out there to sea. Now let's switch gears, talk about our storm system in the South China Sea, which, as mentioned, is a tropical depression at this point. And if you look here on the right, JMA does expect this to become a tropical storm in the next 24 hours. Now, this is a very slow-moving storm. It is really sitting in an area which not a lot of steering flow with this. So as far as exactly where this is going to be going in the next 48 hours, it seems this is going to be moving in a northwesterly projection, but the exact point of landfall with it still a little bit uncertain. Now, overall background flow would indicate moving off there towards Hainan, just towards the west of Hong Kong. ECMWF model really agrees with this as well. And if you remember, I was just showing you those model outlooks from GFS and NavGem. They actually keep this storm system pretty weak. You can barely see anything developing down there. My thoughts on it, I think we could see a weak tropical storm, but nothing more. This is just going to be a big rainmaker for those of you west of Hong Kong and around Hainan. That's why I'm not going to talk about this that much, since recently, actually, southern portions of China really have just been dealing with the foul weather out here associated with what seems to be the plum rains, and this is going to be kind of minor compared to what those storm systems have been bringing, but it is going to bring some gusty winds and some rainfall, but nothing compared to what you have been seeing as far as the severe flooding across western and central portions of China. The other thing, though, this is going to be wrapping those southerly winds around it, so we are looking at some showers across Thailand, basically Cambodia, and that whole moisture inflow stretching over towards the Philippines with the southwest monsoon. That will be a problem by Monday and the Tuesday, is that Habagat out here for those of you into the Philippines. And just wrap it up, let's take a look at the 72-hour rainfall accumulation. And you can see, based on the GFS, where this rainfall is going to be coming down. And it's not really in the center of circulation, but the worst of it stretching out here across all those areas I just mentioned, and then pushing over there towards the Philippines. And then we have our other storm system heading off there towards the northeast. But yeah, that's the big thing right there, guys. 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Thanks for watching all the way through, and as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can post them down there in the comment box below. Anything I didn't cover that you think I should have, let me know, and I will make sure in the next update I try to touch on it. Alright guys, stay safe out there, and as always, thanks for watching.